another Tuesday night, Carlos?
It's Tuesday night, 7:30 and Channel 95. We are back for one more show of the neighborhood news. Again, I would like to remind, because if you're watching this show and it's not a Tuesday night, it's because you're watching a repeat show. So please watch our new show next Tuesday at 7:30.
Exactly.
And so how you been?
Good.
Doing good?
Yeah, we're going to have to go to your haunted house this
Yeah,
next
haunted
weekend.
house. I have to say this. The kids are having a really nice time, and you know, would be not. I mean, it's just amazing to see them. How many high fives you see inside that haunted house after a group goes by and they scare everybody? It's they all cheer, you know. So yeah, again, it's one more thing that to get the kids out of the streets and a good thing and doing something good and enjoying being teens. You know, so
and it helps. You can raise some money with
and help us on the end. Help us raise some money for the school too. But like I said, the most important thing with all my events is always bring the families together. Do one more event on the city. Get the community involved, and as much people we can get involved, the better it is.
Absolutely.
Then on the end, if we have some money left after we pay everybody, it's a plus. So, but just to have the event done and have like now, I ask the kids to be there because they have to make up themselves and everything. I ask the kids to be there for 4 o'clock. They're there 1 o'clock. They're already calling me, hey, we're here. I have to run down and open the door for them, you know. So, and then we need to do an extra thing like finish a stage or whatever. They all jump in and I want to help. So it's again, another positive thing on our city.
Good.
But we have guests.
Yep.
Guests.
Yeah, we got one guest.
No, you're my guest too.
Yeah. All right, so you have 2 guests then. All right. Well, we have Dave Dennis, former city councillor, but he's here to talk about AHA. He is a chairperson, a co-chairperson.
One of the co-chairs, yeah.
Yep. So, and I had the opportunity to go to the last one that you guys had. Went to a couple of the venues, which was really cool. I'd been to the one in New Bedford probably about a year or 2 ago. My nephew was playing in a band there, and I was like surprised to see that many people walking in the downtown area. It was great. So it's great to see that that's starting out here, and I give you guys credit with that. It was really pretty good.
Well, we started, as you know, my wife and I started this project probably about 3 years ago. It was a result of us having gone down to New Bedford. We just happened to be down there on a Thursday night. And anybody that's been to AHA knows that it's on the, I forget which Thursday night is, the 2nd or 3rd Thursday of the month. AHA is in the downtown area. Depends on what the theme is, but this particular night they had bands out in the street. There were people walking around. There were people going to the to the stores, to the restaurants, and as I found out that they averaged somewhere around 3,000 people at every AHA, and it's had a tremendous impact on the downtown in New Bedford. In fact, it's considered probably one of the most successful projects, at least not economic development projects, in the Commonwealth, and it's a model for other projects in the Commonwealth. So what happened was, Sandra and I, after we had Ben, said, gee, you know, this is kind of a successful thing. And we picked the phone up, we made some phone calls, and we talked to Lee Heald, who is the executive director of AHA in New Bedford, and also Craig Ducher, who is the executive director of the Community Foundation. And so we sat down, talked to him, and we said, geez, you know, how can we replicate this, or would you be interested? Because as both of you well know, you know, Fall River, for a long time, we don't have America. We don't have America. Was it Fall River Celebrates America? So we lost that. So we were kind of thinking about, you know, trying to find a signature project for the city. And then shortly after that, I was elected to the Fall River City Council. Then I became chair of Economic Development and Tourism on the City Council. And so I became even more interested in trying to find a project for the city. And so after a couple of years, we went by, we talked about how we could use the brand, because I thought that it made sense not to reinvent the wheel. This was a very successful program. In fact, they've just celebrated their 15th anniversary this year. So we sat down and we came up with an agreement. They have now allowed us to use the AHA brand. It's called AHA Fall River. There's AHA New Bedford. We now have AHA Fall River officially. We signed a memorandum of understanding in May of this year, which requires us to have a certain number of AHAs and to work with them closely, which we're more than glad to do. Again, it's a very successful model. It's been a very, very successful program in New Bedford. And so we've replicated it very fortunately in the city of Fall River. We have a steering committee. We have about a dozen people on a steering committee. We have an advisory committee. And we work very closely with AHA New Bedford and the Community Foundation. This was our second one that we had. The last theme was all about healthy foods. I think it was a healthy harvest. We were over at the government center. We had a lot of programs. You probably went to the government center. Yep. We had a bunch of programs for children over there. We had Mob Flash from the Little Theater. We had Miss Harvest, who was Faust Fiore's new wife. She has a beautiful voice. She sang to the children, read books. We gave away hundreds of books. They did pumpkins, seed harvesting, some crafts. We had some people from the Bioreserve there. We have Marianne Wardell, Linton Harrington was there, trustees of the reservation. So we had a variety of different things at the government center. Then if you wanted to move down over toward North Main Street, we had Dunny's, we had Norcom, who is a mortgage company, there on the corner. In fact, Donna Wynn sits on the steering committee from Norcom Mortgage. Then we had St. James, we had Tequila Lime, and then we went up the other end and we had Cultural Center was there. Rick Oliveira had a bunch of bands with children, young adults, I shouldn't say children. Cherry and Webb's, we had an art exhibit. We had Louis Lima over there playing music. And then each one of the venues, there were artists and musicians playing in each one of those restaurants. And so the idea was then we had somebody, a beer maker, wine maker over at St. James Club. So that's really what AHA is all about. It's art, history, and architecture. And the programming is done by people that come who are invited to be part of the program. You can be a sponsor, you can be a member. Those people pay to support AHA. We don't charge anybody anything, and we're supported by members and sponsors. So the next one's going to be December 18th. It'll be a holiday theme. I'm not sure what the title is going to be, but it'll probably have something to do with Christmas lights and all that stuff. And these programs are very, very, very family friendly. What usually happens is the young folks usually come early in the night, and then later on, the other mothers and fathers, the adults show up, and then they go to the local bars and restaurants. And it's been tremendously successful down there, and so far it's been very successful. We had about 300 people, I think, at the first one, 350. We had over 600 at this one.
Wow.
We expect to have even more than that for Christmas. AHA will have one in the spring, and then it'll be a very big one the week of August 10th, because that's when the Battleship is going to be celebrating its 50th anniversary of its arrival in the city of Fall River. That's going to be an entire week of activities, of which AHA will be part of that, and also we're coordinating that with the Battleship. Mm-hmm. So we're excited about it.
No, that's good. I mean, you doubled the census in the second period there. Mm-hmm. You know what I thought was pretty interesting? You guys had folks there from the Roach House. I'm thinking of New Bedford. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I missed them. I don't remember.
No, it's the Durfee House. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of New Bedford.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Lafayette Durfee House. Dave Jennings comes all the time. Yep. And we had a trolley, and what we did was we looped the trolley around from Government Center, and we go down North Main Street, could go past Norcom Mortgage, Dunny's, and St. James, and Tequila Lime. Then it would go down to the Cove, and then it went down to, not the Landing, the other one.
Remy's?
No. Well, didn't. We'd go down to Remy's, and we'd go down to the Cove, and then we'd go to the Tipsy Toboggan, and then it would loop back up Columbia Street. Mm-hmm. So it kept making a loop. So even the other restaurants got some business out of it. Cool. They had a couple of artists in there, so people would go down as they walked in. It had the AHA theme going on with the artist and all that. So, and then they could come up uptown, so we kept moving people around. And the restaurants have said they've certainly noticed a bump in business, and that's really what AHA's about.
Yeah, no, cool. And you know, what I found amazing was that I was just talking to them for a few minutes, and there were a couple of people that came up, and they didn't know that this house existed in Fall River. He said, this is a house you can come visit, and a couple of people didn't realize.
Well, what people don't realize, the Lafayette Durfee House is on Cherry Street in Fall River. It's Dave Jennings who runs it. It's I wish I knew more about the history of it. I've been there several times, but it's one of the oldest, if not the oldest, houses. It goes back to the early 1700s in Fall River, and it's really fascinating to go through the house. It's just that it's in an unusual place in the city.
Yeah.
It's not where you expect it to be. It's sort of lower Cherry Street, but to go in there really is a walk back in time. And Dave gets up in period dress.
Yeah.
He was up at the government center with all his stuff. He was dressed up in his, his period dress, his colonial uniform, and he brings a lot of colonial artifacts with him. And the kids love it. They have the, the muskets and, the old cannonballs, and the kids love to play with all that stuff. And in part of that is that he tells them about the history of Fall River, about the Lafayette Durfee House, its significance in Fall River history, which of course is consistent with the arts history and architecture theme of all the AHAs.
Yeah, and it is. It was interesting. I've been to the house. It reminds me of going to Salem or any of these other places when you walk in there.
It's as nice as any of those places.
Yep, absolutely.
It's just that, again, one of the problems that Fall River's had over the years is we have plenty of things to see and do in the city of Fall River. The problem is that we don't have anybody or any organization that coordinates all those venues. I think several years ago, 2011, when I was on the City Council and I chaired Economic Development and Tourism, we had the first ever tourism summit. I don't know if you probably remember that. And Boston came down, Mass Office of Tourism came down. Betsy Wall, who's the executive director, came down after it was an entire day. We had everybody that was anybody in tourism in New England basically came to the city, talked to us about Fall River and what we could do to utilize the assets in Fall River better. And one of the things that came out of that was that we needed a point person to be able to do that, to coordinate, tourism in the city. We do. The good news is that we have, well, the bad news is we don't do very well. We have a very small percentage of revenue. It's about $3.5 billion in the state that tourism generates, several 100,000 jobs. Fall River is it's a very, very small piece of that pie. But the good news is we have a long way to go. And we don't have to do a lot if we just had somebody that would coordinate all that. And that's why when I was on the council, after 18 months, I did finally get a resolution passed to hire a director of tourism and marketing, similar to what they've done down in New Bedford. That's Dagley Ashley. And in fact, that office in the last year has grown. It started out with just one individual. They now have a project director, and now they have an administrative assistant. And so every dollar you spend on tourism, you end up with a $5 return. So if I said to you guys, hey, we'll all put up $100,000, we're going to get $500,000 back, not a bad deal. And in fact, AHA, just some numbers, this was done by, in 2009 by UMass, the Center for, I guess it's a policy analysis. AHA Thursday nights, direct revenues over 477,000, indirect 35,000, induced 121 for a total of $634,570. So that's what AHA generates. That's what it was generating back in 2009, and it's grown significantly since then. Wow. So you're looking at it's probably close to $1 million that it generates in revenue for the downtown in New Bedford, which again, I think why it's been such a significant program in the Commonwealth and why they get so much funding. They get funding from Mass Cultural Council and a variety of other sources. And the city also contributes to the AHA program. We haven't been that lucky yet. Most of our money is raised locally by sponsors. But the potential is significant, and the program will continue to grow over the years. And I don't know who will be running it 15 years from now, but somebody will. And I certainly hope it's around then.
So, and how many, you said it's couple of times a year, or it's...
Well, our agreement initially, because as you can imagine, it takes a lot of coordination, takes a lot of time to run it. We have a committee right now, a steering committee of about 12 folks, and then we have some other folks that are on the advisory committee. We meet every Monday night, at Norcom Mortgage on Bedford and North Main Street. It takes a lot of coordinating. We're going to do it quarterly for the first year or two, and then as our revenues build, as we generate more money, as we continue to get more sponsors, we'll be able to do programming more often. They do it every month. They do it monthly, but that just wouldn't be sustainable for us. We couldn't do it monthly. We had one in June, we've had one in October, we'll have one in December, again, December 18th. We'll have another one probably in May, and then we'll have the one that will coincide with the Battleship's 50th anniversary, the week of August 10th, which will be this summer, and that'll be a very, very big one. So we'll build, and then we'll go probably throughout 2015 on that schedule, and then we'll see what the committee feels and what AHA New Bedford and the Community Foundation, if they make a recommendation, if we can go more frequently. We'll do it more frequently, and we'll build, and eventually we'll be doing the once-a-month thing.
I probably will expect the summer one and the Christmas one to be probably the biggest ones, because it's how people come out. People come out more during the summer, and then the special holiday, that's the Christmas time, that people really come out. They don't care if it's cold or not. They come out because that's pretty much what you know the.
And the size and scope of the AHAs change. Again, the ones in January or February, like they went doing New Bedford, are a little bit different. The themes are different, and they're more orientated to being inside. They tend to be a little bit smaller, a little more concentrated. And of course, as the weather gets better, then they encompass more of the downtown area. But local vendors are very happy so far. When you have an AHA and we have 600-700 people running around, that's a pretty good bump for some of the restaurants, downtown in Fall River. And the idea is that people move around, and so we're trying to drive people now up further up South Main Street on the Cherry and Webb's, the Tap House, Trios. We'll see if Adagios. We'll see if those restaurants will now become partners, and then we'll make arrangements for them to have programming inside their restaurants, because that's part of it. People come in to see the artists. They'll come in to see somebody playing some music. They have a drink at each place and they move on, and because there's something of interest in all those places. So
cool.
Yeah,
no,
we're excited about it.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's a great program. I mean, and it's been, like you said, a success in New Bedford. It's funny when you talk about this, because Al Lima wrote a book that I bought probably about 6 or 7 months ago, and it talks about all this history that we really don't know exists here. So it was really interesting to see that, and maybe someday we'll be able to tap on some of that. But yeah.
Well, it's interesting when you mention Al, and that's probably true too, because one of the things that the Mass Office of Tourism shared with us when they came down back in 2011, when I had the Tourism Summit, was that they collect statistics. They have a site, and so I think it's Mass Vacation. So when people go up and hit that site, they're looking for different things, and they can track what their interests are. Well, interestingly enough, we didn't get a lot of hits down in Fall River. Like we have Lizzie's and a couple of other places, but one of the areas that people were most interested in happened to be history. They were interested in the history of the area, colonial history, and we have lots of assets down here that if they were properly packaged and marketed, that people would be interested in and would come to the city of Fall River.
I mean, I believe we already spoke here about this tour that I do on the Flint. I did it a couple of times, and this last time I was asked by Mrs. Cavallo, principal of the Watson School, because she got a lot of new staff, and she said probably would be interesting to show around the neighborhood and talk about the neighborhood and everything. And I had people going on a trolley that instead of, I gave them what I knew about the history that I knew for some places and some monuments and stuff. But I had people on the trolley telling me because they grew up there. So, and that's how I go discover more and more and more. And, that the tour that started with half an hour, now it's an hour, because we have a lot more to talk about and a lot more history.
Well, one of the things that people don't realize about the city of Fall River is that we have according to the Preservation Society in the city of Fall River, we have the 4th largest, if not the 3rd, but certainly the 4th largest historic district in the country. We're only behind Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, New Orleans, and then it's Fall River. But I always tell people when you mention, Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, New Orleans, I always like to say, well, we don't look like any one of those 3. And we don't use really the resources and the assets we have here in the city like any of those 3 cities at all. Yeah. So given that we have the 4th largest historic district in the country, you would think that we would have a better strategic plan to take advantage of those. The area that I happen to live in, it's up, in what they call the historic Highlands, up off Highland Avenue, Rock Street, in that area. Most of those homes up there are of significant, have a significant history, historical significance. So, but we don't use those. I mean, people could be touring those areas. They're mill owners, they're the Diffees, the Braytons. So there's an awful lot of history there. And in fact, people come regularly to go. There are bus trips that come to the Historical Society, and I know this because one day my wife happened to be going by, saw the bus, got out, talked to the bus driver, and they were up from the Connecticut area, and they would come down, and they go to the Historical Society, they go there, they walk around, they get back on a bus, and they leave the city to go have lunch. So again, if we had someone that was coordinating those kind of visits, and we're putting packages together, I mean, think about those 48 people or so, or 50 people that are on that bus, because it's a regular commercial bus, it's not a school bus. If we kept them in the city for just a little bit longer, and we took them down, and they came to the Historical Society, and they went to Sawgrass for something to eat, and maybe they could grab a show if it was the right night, over at the little theater, and that was a package, and it was, hey, $65. You could go to all 3. So, that's that much more money they'd be spending in the city. And it's the same thing that we could do down on the waterfront if we did a better job coordinating people coming over the Braga Bridge. I mean, obviously we're in a special situation now with the construction that's going on there with the accelerated bridge program. But imagine if we could get people off that bridge. There are 75,000 cars on average a day go over that bridge. So even if we only got 10% of them to come through the city, we got 5% to come through the city. It's over 3,000 cars. And if we get some of those people to spend just another couple of hours in the city, stop, pick up some brochures, talk about, if they're heading down to the Cape, they spend, they've got kids, an average family of 4, they come to the city, they use the bathrooms, they get their brochures, they go to the battleship, they go to the Marine Museum, it's a package, and then they go to, who knows, the Tap House or some other place downtown, Remy's, wherever, the Cove Restaurant, Tipsy Seagull, Tipsy Toboggan, and they have lunch, all for, say, hey, $30 a piece, and they get back in the car and they head down to the Cape. What does that do for the local, local economy? It's significant. Yeah. It's significant. I mean, we had over 7,000 people this year who came to the city with Free Fun Friday at the Battleship. They do it every year. The first year, we drove people, we got people, I put up a tent, I got some volunteers, we got people on buses, we sent them up to Columbia Street, and then we made a big loop downtown and back around. The Cinderella restaurant, when I went there on that following Tuesday, this was a Friday, I went on a Tuesday, their revenues were up, their lunch revenues were up over 35%. Wow. 35%. Just by people getting off those buses and trolleys, saying, hey, I want to go get something to eat. They were dropping them off and picking people up. That was just one restaurant, 35%. So we have people in the city, we know how to do it. We just need people in the city and a strategy, and that's the other problem. We haven't had a strategy long term. We've started and stopped this over the years, but we haven't had a consistent strategy and a focus on doing any of this long enough to make it work. But it can work. It works in other communities, and I'm glad for New Bedford. But all we have to do is look at our neighborhood and realize that it's working very, very well down there. Look at the Morgan. I mean, they're going to expect to generate, that program cost about $600,000. That program is going to generate, if you believe Mott, 5 times that in revenue, in tourist revenue over the next, probably year or so. So 5 times, 6 times 5 that's over $3 million worth of revenue. So.
Yeah. Well, they think they're telling us.
Did I fill up the half hour? You shouldn't have asked me the question.
No, we still have some
Okay,
some
he's
time.
telling us to the end. But
Yeah.
that-
We have a few more minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't need a ball of time.
well, you know what, Dave, is interesting when you talk about New Bedford, because I was born there, lived there till I was like in 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah.
And that whole area downtown has changed. I've gone to the Zeitarian 2 or 3 times.
It's
and
transformed.
Yeah, and when I walk out, you're
Yeah.
like, wow, I don't think I'm really here. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of hopefully pulling this, and I think this might be part of what's going to pull
It's
this.
one. It's one piece of it. I mean, we're going to have our waterfront is going to our waterfront is literally going to transform in probably the next 2 years. Once the accelerated bridge program is done, I was on the working group for Route 79, the lowering of Route 79. We've made our final recommendation to MassDOT. That's going to be lowered. That's going to be an open boulevard. On the west side and the water side, that's going to be all built out with mixed use down there, retail, residential, maybe some office space. And that's going to absolutely transform the waterfront. So we need to be prepared to be able to take advantage of that. I mean, those are the kinds of things that we ought to be talking about in the city. That hasn't been the case lately, but those are the kind of projects that we need to be prepared for because they're coming. They're coming. And, AHA is just one piece of that. This is around the downtown area. We'll move this around. It'll expand over the years. But there's a whole lot of other things that we could and should be doing in the city of Fall River to take advantage of what we really have, because we have plenty. And that's not me saying that. That's Mass Office of Tourism and Travel saying it. You've got plenty of resources, they said down there. You've got plenty of tourist venues down there, believe it or not. And I know when I talk to people about this, sometimes they'll say, oh, why would anybody want to come to the Fall? What would they want to go see? Lizzie's, the Historical Society, the Battleship. What else is after that? Well, the first Free Fun Friday, within 2 weeks, we put a brochure together. There are over 36 venues or things to do, including we have the ballet, we have the symphony, we have Little Theater, Historical Society, and the obvious players, the Battleship, Marine Museum, Lizzie's. So there's plenty to do in the city of Fall River, and anybody that knows this business, the tourism will tell you there's plenty to do if you do what successful communities do, package it, put it together. We were talking earlier about Newburyport in Massachusetts. I mean, a community that if you went downtown, you'd be. I mean, I've been there years ago. It's beautiful. There are restaurants. It's well developed. It's well maintained. Portland, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I was in
that's nice.
Portland, Maine. Same thing. So the blueprint is there. This is not rocket science. It just needs a long-term commitment. It needs vision. It needs leadership.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I worked in the downtown restaurants that we used to have reservations from the Borden's home, Lizzie Borden, because they would come over to sleep a couple of nights there, and they will come to eat at the restaurant. So we had our business cards there, and they will call in and make reservations. So on that case, instead of that person come only spend 2 nights, could spend the whole week here and spend the 2 nights in the Lizzie Borden.
Now they're telling us. Now we know.
Oh,
Now we know.
Out of time?
Dave,
Thanks a lot,
thank you again for
appreciate
coming.
it. Thanks for
Thank
inviting
you.
me anytime.
Thank you. And we'll be back next week, same time, same channel.
a
Thank
good
you.
night.